The most searched for Bible verse in recent years is Isaiah 41 verse 10. Do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. Do not fear. Yes, God, we hear you. Over 365 times in the Bible, one for every day of the year. But let's be honest, we still fear. And as leaders, we fear too. We fear we won't have what it takes. We fear losing what we've built. We fear people won't follow us or even like us. We fear criticism. We fear the unknown. We fear being unprepared or out of control. And sometimes we even fear fear itself. Isaiah wrote that verse to a people who knew fear. Their nation was in turmoil. Their kings were unstable. Their future bleak. And yet God was greater than their fear, and he still is. This year's Spring Harvest asked me to write the theme book, No Greater Story. It's all about the big story of God, creator, redeemer, perfecter. Why does that matter? Because leadership is like sailing in a storm. You need an anchor. And in a storm, what you're anchored to makes all the difference. You see, fear tells one story, but God tells another. Isaiah 43 reminds us, when you pass through the waters, not if, but when. When you walk through the fire, not if, but when. God doesn't promise we'll avoid storms or fire. He promises we won't go through them alone. But here's the challenge. As leaders, we often try to be the strong one, the stable one, the stable voice, the strong voice, the safe presence. But we can't lead well if we're not being led well. In the book, there's a chapter called Greater Than Our Fears. And in it, I tell the story of a church in Albania that we oversee and we have for many, many years. And I learned something simple but powerful from that church. In Albanian, the word for fear is freak. It sounds a little bit like freak. And it made me think sometimes it's okay to freak out, right? But fear doesn't get to write the story. Do not fear doesn't mean you won't ever feel fear. It means don't let fear dominate you. Don't let it dictate the narrative of your leadership. God is greater. So what do we do when we are freaking out? Well, here are 3 things that I'm learning. Firstly, when you're freaking out, don't try harder, trust deeper. Fear makes leaders anxious, and anxious leaders create uncertain followers. Instead of striving, we need to surrender. A lifeguard doesn't want you flailing in the water, they want you trusting. Secondly, when you're freaking out, remember, growth is on the other side of that fear. Peter walked on water, then he sank, but he also got rescued, and he had a story to tell. The others stayed dry, but they missed the miracle. And here's the thing, there's no growth in the comfort zone, and there's no comfort in the growth zone. Thirdly, when you're freaking out, make the turn. What do I mean, make the turn? A few years ago, I was in Bulgaria, another one of my favorite countries. Early one morning, a young guy invited us, me and another friend, to go swimming in the Black Sea. We agreed, mostly out of pride, and nearly got into trouble. We were struggling, panicking, and then we saw a rock. We made the turn, we swam, and we clung to the rock that was higher than us, and we found refuge. When fear rises, leaders have a choice. Let it take you under, or let it help you to turn to the rock that is higher than you, and that rock is Jesus. I end that chapter with one of my all-time favorite stories. Hundreds of years ago, off the coast of Cornwall, a ship was wrecked in a storm, and a young sailor's mate was thrown into the sea, and he spent the entire night clinging to a rock. When he was rescued the next morning, they asked him, "Did you shake all night long?" He said, "Yes, sir, I shook all night long, but the rock never shook once." Leader, my prayer for you is that as you journey through the No Greater Story, in fact, we've produced our Leader's Toolkit, which includes multiple copies of the books for your church, downloadable sermon outlines, small group notes and spoken words and so much more. And my prayer is this, that as you journey through that, not just yourself, but for your church, that when fear rises in you, you'll cling to the rock that never shakes, and you'll lead others to do the same. Because there's no greater story than the story of God.